How's it? I'm Alex McCauley.
And I'm Max Fosberg.
And this is Excuse the Intermission, a discussion show surrounding your favorite films of the 21st century. The New York Times recently published a Reader's Choice list of the best films from the years 2000 to 2025, and we have some thoughts. From snubs to surprises, from overrated to underrated, we will break down the entire rankings with help from Kalee, so sit tight. Our conversation begins on the other side of this break. All right, Max, Kalee, how are the two of you doing today? Kalee, welcome back. Always great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Love hanging out with you guys and chatting about movies. It's the best.
Before we get into the New York Times rankings list, let's dive into some of your recent activities down there in LA. You guys went and saw two movies here this past weekend that I know you want to discuss a little bit. So without further ado, let's just dive right into that. And then we can get into the list because I think that might take up a lot of airway later.
Yes, I'm so excited. It was actually really fun. I got kind of stressed out this morning. Like, oh my God, I had to figure out my feelings about this list because it's like, it's a list and you're like, I have feelings, but I have to like go through it. But then I was like, okay, stay calm. Just get on Letterboxd. Letterboxd is very helpful. Like start looking through stuff. But anyway, so we went to double feature on Friday. I would work at Vidiots. I just got a part-time job as booth coordinator at Vidiots. And so I was at work till 7 and like literally we got off and I was like, let's go to Glendale, Lemley, which is like close to where I work. And we just like popped into together at 7:30, went to Sorry Baby at 10:30. And yeah, I mean, I think it goes to show for me, like if I stay awake through a late show, the movie is good. Like that is like one of my, I was like, at first I got really worried after Together because Together is not as good. It's like, it's just a movie. Like it's a silly movie, but that's my take at least. And so when we got through Together, I was like, shit, we should have done this one second. I would not have been that mad if I fell asleep during this one. But yeah.
Let's talk about Together first. Since we saw that one first. Together is the new horror movie, body horror movie starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie. It's also got a lot of controversy around it. Not for what's on the screen, but the script, the idea. I believe there's a lawsuit going on that this idea was stolen from another writer who had shown apparently Dave Franco the script that he wrote, and like specific pieces of that script can be found in this movie. I haven't read that script, so I don't know exactly the details there.
And that was to be a short film. Am I remembering that correct?
That sounds right. Because someone did say this was like, I'm pretty sure that the lawsuit, maybe it's not over, but that they've kind of decided that it really isn't copied. Like it's not copied. It's like the idea is somewhat there in the original. And it sounds right, the short thing. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I think that there is like enough of a difference that people were like, okay, we don't need to attack them about the script. Let's go watch the movie and see what we think. Yeah. But yeah, it is like interesting though that there was all that drama.
Yeah, and so Together, it's about a couple who moved to the countryside from the big city. They are living in an isolated house in the woods. They go on a hike. They find a cave.
Dave Franco is a hipster musician. He wears like a King Gizzard shirt through the first act.
And in that cave, there is, I guess you would call it not demonic, but like some sort of substance.
Possession.
Yeah, possession thing that gets onto Dave Franco's character, and he becomes his body becomes obsessively attached to Alison Brie. To the point where he can't be too far away from her. And so then they have to figure out what's going on. And it's revealed that there's, some nefarious things going on in this town.
I feel like it also gives it some credit. Sorry to interrupt you, but gives it some credit that as I hear you telling this, I want to tell more stuff, right? It does have a lot of fun, details to it. His background's really interesting and kind of their conflict
mystery to kind of figure out throughout the movie. but I will say that like the first, I don't know how I felt about it is that Dave Franco, when he tries to be serious and he's not being like a bully in high school or, the best friend and neighbors, when he is center of the screen trying to be a serious actor, I just think he's really, really bad.
I feel like he's inexperienced. I think that's the vibe I was getting from him. I was telling Max that he does this actor thing that I learned from being in acting school, like like he sighs a lot, like which is very much like an actor thing, or like he has these like kind of like actor quirks that he kind of comes out that show himself and not the character.
Yeah, when he's not doing comedy, I guess I would say he's very overacting. And so I found the first 2 acts of this movie pretty rough.
And the writing was weird. I was also feeling for them both. Like I think with her and like kind of the other teacher, like that scene really rubbed me wrong. It's just like a lot of the scenes just have kind of clunky, cliche dialogue, and I felt like that wasn't really helping anybody with performance.
Yeah. However, I will say the third act, I think turns it up a little bit and like is actually pretty entertaining. Now, Kalee and I were definitely laughing through the movie.
It's funny. It's really, really funny.
I don't know if that was the intent. I can't think it was, but yeah. So a movie that I was like really excited for because it's one of these movies that got a lot of festival buzz. A lot of people were saying like, oh, the best body horror in years, and you're one of the best horror movies of the year. And unfortunately for me, it was not that.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was not that great, but it was entertaining towards the end. I think if they could have just spruced up some of the stuff in the beginning, I think it could have been a good movie. The ending is really fun.
Yeah. Do you think the film benefits, or do you not notice it, or does it perhaps suffer from Dave Franco and Alison Brie being a real life couple off screen? Or do you think some of that is sort of baked into it and part of the fun?
I think it's part of, you can tell they are having fun.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's a little bit of the charm of the film, but like, I don't know. Alison Brie, has been this is going to sound so derogatory, but she's been a TV actor for all of her life, right? Like, what other movies has she shown up in? And
it felt very much like them both like taking an opportunity of like, I finally get to be the star. Like I finally get to be, right? Is that kind of what you mean? Yeah, for both of them, because Dave Franco hasn't really had a leading role either. Yeah.
I will say, if not, and I'm looking, I don't think that either of you have logged this film on Letterboxd. Doesn't mean you haven't seen it yet, though. But I would visit The Rental. It was a COVID film from 2020 that he directed, starring Alison Brie, about a group of friends that go to like an Airbnb, and it's kind of like, I thought we might start to get a lot of these, but sort of like the VRBO gone wrong, where like, are there cameras in this house? What's going on? That's a fun little thriller. So I think there's something to, I mean, we've seen this in Hollywood for decades and decades and decades where, husband and wife, any sort of domestic partnership, and someone's behind the camera and someone's in front of the camera, and you're directing your partner. And I think it can work. And so I'm not, even though I haven't seen the film yet, even though the two of you aren't necessarily raving about it, I'm not ready to like sell my stock yet in Dave Franco as perhaps like a really good behind the scenes person. And then Alison Brie can sort of start to become maybe his muse. Because I'm pretty sure Franco also, I think he was a producer on Zola, a film that I'm actually going to bring up here later in this episode. Like,
yeah,
Franco, and for reasons that we don't need to get into here on this podcast, has, I think, kind of came out of the shadows of his older brother. And that's really good for a lot of different reasons. And so he's somebody that I'm still very interested in, like the choices that they decide.
I totally agree. Yeah, I love that because I think the film deserves that. I feel like it, like I said, it felt like very much like a debut. It felt like a debut, and it was like well done. And like it had some clunky moments, but like I think that considering it's like new territory for both of them. I thought that it was good enough, and it was fun. I think you might really enjoy it. You might enjoy it a little more than we did because your taste can be unexpected.
We were 2 of 6 people in the theater.
Oh, that is surprising.
Yeah, so it would have been really cool with more people. I agree. I was thinking that.
And granted, we went to, what was the theater called again?
The Laemmle in Glendale.
Which is a smaller independent theater here in LA. So maybe that's why. Like, I wonder, we were right across the street from a Look dine-in cinema. I wonder if we went there to see it, if it was a full crowd, maybe it would have been a little bit more enjoyable. Okay, second movie we saw, Sorry Baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come out. This has cracked my top 5 of the year. One of my favorite films that I've seen. This is I guess you could call it a dramedy, from Eva Victor, who writes, directs, and stars in this film. And someone I had not been familiar with. I guess she played a role on the show Billions in the past, but this movie is really well made. Like, it is very patient. It's beautiful writing. It's for a drama or dramedy. It has great tension in it. It has great heart. I think I wrote, I laughed, I cried, I was depressed, I was hopeful. I love this film, and I have, as also I said in my Letterboxd review, I have purchased season tickets for Eva Victor.
Love that. So sweet. Yeah, it was amazing. It was really good. I think that the story itself is, and I think I said this in my Letterboxd review. We're here to read our Letterboxd reviews to everybody. Here we are. The thing I was thinking of is this. It's the substance of the content and what it is about is really powerful and really intense. But just the filmmaking itself, it is so cinematic. The way she thinks is so cinematic, and the way she directed this, and there are just scenes that are just, and I feel like this is what cinema is, where you're oh, wow, you are capturing the feeling of what this is. You are not just replaying a story in your head. You are figuring out a metaphorical way to heighten this experience and let us be part of that experience. And I think she did a great job with that. And also, I wanted to say that just following this main character, Agnes, is just such a joy. She is, going through a lot of shit, but she's so real. She feels like one of my friends. I felt the way she wrote, and of course it's also a story about best friends. And so it's as a woman who has had many beautiful female relationships, I felt it was just so beautiful to see that on screen, and just their candidness with each other and the way their relationship plays into the bigger plot. So yeah, Sorry Baby is amazing. Nothing happens to the cat. That's my announcement. Go see it. Nothing happens to the cat. The cat doesn't die. Nothing happens to the cat.
Rivers were coming down my face when that cat first comes on screen.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with the cat scene of this film is so, as a writer, it's so good at lowest point to highest point. It really pulls your heartstrings by just highs to lows and doing it just so well executed. No, not at all. It's just these perfectly well executed, well, because that's the beauty of life. One of my therapists once said to me, whenever I get really down, I start in a jokingly way saying to myself, something good is going to happen to you. You can't stop it, and I think that that's the beauty of scenes like that, where it's you get to this low point and then there's always the silver lining. There's something really beautiful that happens. And yeah, just so cool. Such a inspiring, as a filmmaker, just such an inspiring film to watch, because you're just oh wow, you can do anything with a story because the story is kind of just a very dark, serious story, but there's all these things you can do with it. And I just thought it pulled the story off the page in such an exciting way. So that's it. That's our thoughts on our movies.
That's awesome. I'm trying to
look. I can't wait for you to see them so we can talk to you about them more.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up to see how many screens Sorry Baby is playing on right now. And it looks like
it came out the weekend F1 came out. So
yeah.
Really? We had June 27th. Yeah.
Yeah. So limited, and I think it was limited then. So I'm sure it's in even less theaters now.
Yeah.
I think it got distribution though, so it'll be streaming soon enough, I think also. But I was wishing there was a weird feeling because I think because Lemley makes me miss the Grand because Lemley is like this smaller theater.
I
Not
do
as
know
many
it's playing
seats.
at the Grand right now.
Yes,
Sorry, Baby
go to
is.
the Grand. Yeah, I was really wishing I was at the Grand when I was watching Sorry Baby. I was like, this feels and we also had a classic indie cinema, like there was a ceiling leak or a water leak in the theater, so we couldn't sit where we wanted to sit. I was like, this is cute. I love this.
And you're right. Yeah, A24 has picked up distribution rights. Yeah.
Right.
Very cool. Okay, so we are here today to talk about the New York Times top 100 movies list of the 21st century. Now, if you're going to follow along and or play along at home, there are two different lists, and that is an important distinction. So there's a critics list out there, which was comprised of over, I believe it was like 500 actors, filmmakers, critics, folks that were polled to contribute to the official list, we'll call it. And so that's not the one that we are going, industry pros, I'm reading is what they call it, to reflect on films released since January 1st, 2000. And so that's not the list we will be pulling from today. The list that we want to analyze is the Reader's Choice list of the New York Times top 100 movies of the 21st century. Over 200,000 readers voted on this list that we will be analyzing. And so Max and I went back and forth a little bit, and we decided that this is a better reflection of the kind of content, the kind of movies that we want to be talking about on a daily basis. We can still do a little like compare and contrasting. Like I have some notes here of what a few of the key differences are. Encouragingly enough, though, there aren't too many big ones. And so I don't know if you want to speak to that, Max, like in this world where everyone does have a Letterboxd account and views themselves as a critic, it is kind of nice to see that there is less parity amongst the trained professionals versus someone that can just watch a lot of movies. So what do you think about that to begin with?
Well, yeah, I think first off, a part two diving into the critics list to this episode, I think is probably something that will definitely happen here down the road. I was of the mindset that like this is almost the more important list because this is showing what the paying audience is responding to. And when I say important, it should be important to like studio execs, right? Like this should show you.
Make more movies like this list. Get out of all this crap.
Right? And there's some stuff on here that like you wouldn't almost expect to be on here from the general movie goer. Now, granted, as Alex did say, we do live in a letterbox world, which I think has really like just heightened the level of the average moviegoer to be more cinephile or
more thoughtful. So yeah,
cinephiladelic, or I don't know.
Cinephiladelic, I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this list. There's problems with it. As there's going to be with any list, but that's why we love a list.
I don't feel like there's problems with it. I think it's just made by a person. It's not made by a robot. Happily, I'm really glad it's not made by a robot, and therefore this person is not going to have the exact same or this. I mean, all these people, right? Even like 200,000 people. I think this group in particular, especially Alex, like we're not going to have the same opinion as the average person or like that net number.
Right.
Yeah. One other thing, as if you're an industry professional, when we talk about that list, like you just have more of an opportunity to see, more films, lesser known films.
Yeah.
You have more of an opportunity, right? Like if something like I was thinking about, and the other list, the movie Fish Tank is on there, and like, how available is that film?
I love that you bring up the accessibility. I have to interrupt because one of my answers to one of our questions for today is I would just remove any of the films I haven't seen, which is pretty much what Max is saying on this. He's like, I haven't seen that film, so why is it on the other list? And like,
and granted, I'm sure you can go find it on streaming somewhere.
It's a funny one to use for your point, but I do agree with your accessibility point, like that they go to movies for free, things like that. I think that is like a big thing with the movie theater business falling apart right now is it's expensive to go to the movies. Like, I feel so like guilty how much we spend doing it. Like, I'm so glad we're supporting cinema, but it's just like, it's expensive to go to the movies. And I think that's why people don't go. And capitalism is frustrating that way because it has to be that price for the theaters to stay alive. And
yeah, I think by looking at the Reader's Choice list, we get a better sense, and you have both said this, but of what movies have endured over the last 25 years. And that's something that the industry pros and actors and filmmakers may not have as good a sense of. And I think that social media, if you subscribe to the algorithm that is, people reviewing their Blu-rays and people recommending top 5 underseen crime thrillers to you, like you're going to know about a lot of these movies. And I think that that's great because, you can look, I love the feature on Letterboxd where you can go and you can see popular this week and you go down to like the 30s and the 40s. And it's a lot of the movies that are on this list. And there's no good reason why they should still be prominent, but they have just stood the test of time. And I think that that's a really good measuring stick for a film's longevity. And it can go both ways, right? Because some of those movies are of the blockbuster and franchise brand. It is what it is. And so I the Reader's Choice list has a few more of those kind of films as opposed to the critics and the industry version, because I do think that they are a little bit more niche with their selections. But I think both lists do have a good representation of art house films and auteur filmmakers, and there actually is a good balance between both lists when it comes to genre films. And so there's a lot that we can get into as far as like themes that we like, themes that we wish we could see more of. But for the most part, it's just, I mean, you both said it too. Like, we love a list, and I love that this isn't a list that we're making. We just get to react to this, because not that I want to be aggressive or accusatory to either one of these, but I do think that it's fun, it's validating. It can be a little bit like upsetting when you see something as high as maybe top 5 or top 10 that you don't necessarily agree with, but then it just asks you, like Kalee, you were saying, like, I got to get my notes together. I was working on my notes. I was like, I need to be able to articulate why I feel this way about some of these things. So we love a list. This is a big list. We have about 6 to 8 questions here that will kind of help us work through it and hopefully touch on most of the titles here. We're not just going to go through 1 through 100 and talk about every movie. So we all have a copy here. Kalee, I'll start with you. Thematically, looking at the Reader's Choice Top 100 list, what was something that was a happy takeaway for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a solid list. There were like some, like I like what you pointed out, like the indie versus more mainstream stuff. Like there is a lot of like, I guess, yeah, there's some indie surprises, like some little like more niche surprises in it. A few. It's really funny because when I first wrote my note, I was like, I'm glad Avengers isn't on there. And then I went down to the bottom. I was like, oh, just kidding. It's at the end. Avengers is at the end. But yeah, like mostly you wouldn't expect that. It doesn't really fit into this list. Like it's kind of surprising that they tacked it on at the end. So yeah, I think it's a very like heartfelt list. We'll get into like, this is what I'm happy about and unhappy about is like, it's very much like a sad girl, sad boy list, which is what I'm all about. But interesting that there's like, only a handful of like really joyful films in here that made it. Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway that I'm happy about is that there are only 3 superhero movies on this list, which is The Dark Knight, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Avengers Endgame. In the 21st century, where the movie culture can be defined by capes and cowls. Those are the biggest movies in the theaters year to year. Now, granted, hopefully that's changing, but at least for the first 25 years, that has been the case. So I'm happy that, like, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 isn't on here, right? Because people look at that with rose-colored glasses. Or
the first Iron Man.
Yeah, the first Iron Man, which started the Marvel boom. Or the fact that, I mean, they're Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier is always held up on a podium when it comes to superhero movies. So I'm glad that only 3 movies are about superheroes.
And I think that's really encouraging coming from the reader's choice list. I would expect that from the critics list, but to see that here on our list that we're talking about today is great. Something that to sort of dovetail on that, it's different but the same. This is not my main point, but I do also want to bring up that something I was happy with on this list was that there was a lot of there was the inclusion of, or I should say the exclusion of, a lot of other notable franchises. And so there's no Mission Impossible movie, there's no Jason Bourne movie, there's no John Wick movie, there's no James Bond movie, and there's no Pirates of the Caribbean movie on this list either. Now,
very interesting.
I think that there's some great movies, and you could almost pull maybe one from each of those franchises and say, like, the first John Wick should have been on there. Skyfall could have been on there. Fallout could have been on there. However, they were excluded, and I'm totally okay with that. The biggest thing that I'm happy with was the international appeal of this list and looking through it. So you have films like Spirited Away is in the top 10 at number 8. In the Mood for Love, not my favorite Wong Kar-wai film, but it's number 12. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, 26. City of God, 37. Old Boy, once again, not my favorite Park Chan-wook film, but it's top 40. Amelie, 46. You Too Mama Tambien, 55. The Handmaiden, 67. Worst Person in the World, 76. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, 81. Drive My Car, 89. And then Howl's Moving Castle sneaks in at 96. Now, I'm like the world's biggest Howl's Moving Castle fan. So I was really, really happy to see that there's the top international filmmakers on this list. But that was really cool to see that there was at least a dozen international entries.
Love that.
So then something that maybe we were less happy about as far as the list construction. Do you have a different one for this, Kalee?
One. Yeah, I was my big thing was that there's no Spike Lee. There's no Spike Lee in here. I was surprised by that. I think I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. No, that's
but like, I think like Black Klansman could have been on here. I mean, it would be very much like a pull, like his better films. It's not his best film, but it's like it would be kind of a shoo-in. But like, it's more Black stories. Like, there's only 3 on here. There's Django, Get Out, and Moonlight, which are great films, and I'm glad they're on here. But yeah, I was thinking like, oh wow, like it's interesting to see that there's only 3 Black stories on the top 100. An unfortunate observation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that also kind of talks, touches on like what kind of list this should be, right? Because like it should be celebrating like the most important filmmakers that are making films. But then, if Black Klansman, if you don't think Black Klansman is better than, something crazy like Knives Out, like, are you going to be able to be objective and be like, no, we need a Spike Lee movie on this list? And I think that's some of the bad things about doing a reader's choice, right? Like maybe some people aren't thinking, galaxy brain like that.
Yeah.
Because like on the critics list, something like Black Panther, which goes against what we were just talking about with franchises and superheroes, but you look at Ryan Coogler and everything that movie meant culturally, I think Black Panther should 100% be in this top 100.
Yeah. You said it is on the critics one?
It is.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Something I wasn't happy with was the recency bias on this list. And Sinners is another black story that is on
it is on here.
Yeah, at 52.
Sinners.
That is recency. That's wild.
The Zone of Interest, the Dune movies. I feel like a movie needs at least 3 to 5 years to really breathe and to be considered one of the greatest. So as much as I love Sinners, favorite movie of 2025 so far, I just don't know if it belongs on the list quite yet. If we're doing this list in 2030, then absolutely Sinners is going to be on this list.
Yeah, I tagged a couple of others. Everything Everywhere All at Once is number 13. Oppenheimer is 22. The first entry of a Dune film is Dune Part Two at 27. After Sun, 35. And again, some of these are really solid movies, but 35 seems very high. Barbie's at 84, Mavericks at 88, and Killers of the Flower Moon is at 93.
Yeah, lots of really new ones, definitely.
Yeah. So I had a few notes on that. I also agree with you, Kalee, that more women directors, more BIPOC directors are very underrepresented on this list. A few titles that I wrote down that I think we could have had room for were Promising Young Woman, The Hurt Locker, 12 Years a Slave, Roma, The Substance, Raw or Titan, take your pick, from Julia Ducournau, and then A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I think there's room for all of those films on the list. And then A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night kind of transitions into my other thing, that there's just a big lack of horror on this list as well. There is good genre representation as far as sci-fi goes, but I would have loved to have seen one of these following films along with A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. But The Witch, Prometheus, Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria remake, Under the Skin from Jonathan Glazer, put that in. Take Zone of Interest out.
Yes,
Pearl,
agreed.
and The Killing of a Sacred Deer. And so there's good genre representation, could still be better, 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Okay, and so then this is kind of a fun one, just a surprise that the two of you saw on the list. Could be good, could be bad. What was something that you saw that caused a double take?
One for me that I wanted to bring up was Yi, because we all three said we hadn't seen it. So none of us have seen it, so we can't much talk about it. But one of my friends has told me like this is one of his favorite films. Ethan, Seattle Film Society guy. Shout out to Ethan. He's great. But yeah, he said it was on his top 4 letterbox. And like, I don't know, I just kind of was like, oh, okay. Like I just didn't realize it was like this legendary. Like
it's
to me,
a movie
this list
that's on
is
a ton of top 10s.
Yeah. So I just that was kind of a surprise one that was kind of like off my radar, that now is further up on my list of like, I need to watch that.
Yeah. Well, as I said, at number 91, Knives Out. I mean, I'm just, what are we doing here? Like, I like a good caper, but like that movie is not one of the best 100 movies we've had in the last 25 years.
I haven't seen it.
Best is such a loose definition. It doesn't matter how you're defining the word best. Knives Out doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
Really surprised by number 66, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? A movie I really love and cherish from the Coen brothers. But like every time I've had a conversation with a Coen fan, like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is like middle of the pack to bottom of the pack. So really surprised that's on there. And then number 13.
I disagree with you, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just surprised it's on there. It's kind of a happy surprise.
It's just so well made, like over any of their other films. Of course you do, but still, it's like, to me, like as a spectacle, like what they were able to do with it is so impressive. And
it's not even the best, I mean, obviously we have No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
But A Serious Man, I think, is better than that. Inside, I think Inside Llewyn Davis is on this.
It made it
lower,
lower, but it should be higher than Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Probably.
And then number 13, which we also touched on, Everything Everywhere All at Once. We've talked about this movie at length, but like it is not in the top 15. I could see it in the lower half of the under 50 or somewhere in there, but like to put it in the top 15 is that's crazy.
Yeah. I'm still gonna talk about it later, so I'm just not gonna. I've been up on this soapbox for a long time, and so I'm just gonna.
Me too.
Hold my tongue here for a minute, and talk about a happy surprise. Listen, this also made the critics list. It was actually number 100 on the critics list, so it barely snuck in. But on the listeners, or excuse me, the readers list, it almost performed twice as well. Superbad at 53 is like the coolest thing ever to see. It's really like,
Yes.
it's really the one true comedy on this list. And you want to talk about like a pillar that represents a moment in history. And I think that that's obviously what this list is trying to do. And the fact that this is the movie that has become the beacon for that like late 2000s R-rated comedy boom, it just like is so great to see that it's not with all due respect, a Will Ferrell movie. It's not something like Superbad, or excuse me, it's not something like Step Brothers or Anchorman,
right?
That I feel like is just like less clever. You know, I think that
Yeah.
Superbad is so clever and so well written and
Yes.
directed in a really fun way. The performances are obviously great, and so I love to see Superbad almost crack the top 50 here, and so that was awesome.
That's a good one. I love that.
Comedy, another genre that I think is like woefully underrepresented.
Agreed.
On this list.
Agreed.
Yeah, now I want Step Brothers to be on here. Now that you brought that up, now.
I'm honestly surprised that you know more comedies from that era didn't make it on at least the readers list. I'm sure they were close. Like if we got to see a top 125, I bet we see things like Step Brothers
or Talladega Nights. Talladega Nights is close to my heart. Yeah. Hangover is a great one. Hangover is also just so well made too. Hangover is crazy, like what they do with that one.
Okay, so then 3 movies that we like to see. We're happy that made the list, but that maybe we would move down a little bit here. I'll go first on this one because I have to talk about Interstellar and the Christopher Nolan bias here. So Interstellar clocks in at number 5 overall, and that is after we already have The Dark Knight at 6. And so Nolan goes back to back in the top 10 with Interstellar at 5, The Dark Knight at 6. I'm much more okay with The Dark Knight being in the top 10 because of the understanding for what that did, not only for his career, for superhero movies. I think like this air quotes prestige superhero movie that I think so many different filmmakers have been trying to chase since that moment. You know, we've talked about this. Many people have talked about this movie before, where it's basically like it's Heat as a superhero movie. It's a Michael Mann movie. It's a heist film as a superhero movie. It's all these different things. So The Dark Knight deserving, I think, of a top 10 spot. Let's take Interstellar out of the top 5 and let's move that into like the 20s. And then what we can do by putting Interstellar in the 20s is also move back Oppenheimer and Inception, which are back to back at 23 and 24.
Yeah.
I'm okay like getting those out of the top 50 into the top 75 and potentially, you know, because then once you get back into that second half of the list, things like The Prestige and Memento are already there. And so just like disperse the love for Christopher Nolan a little bit and not have the top of this list so Nolan heavy. So Interstellar would be my first one. How do you guys feel about that move?
I'm so with you because my thing with Interstellar, especially because I just saw Space Odyssey on 70mm, not to brag, but I saw that and it was amazing. And like there's like literally like 5 scenes just pulled from Space Odyssey in Interstellar. Like Interstellar is great, but it's just like a space movie. It's great, but it's just like doing the space movie thing. And Matthew McConaughey and Jessica Chastain have like great chemistry. And like there's great moments in that film, but I just don't think that it should be up there. And I also just like I love the whole Nolan bias. It's very much the recency bias issue, right? It's like
Nolan leads filmmakers, I believe, on this list with five films, which I think we just all listed. It's funny because the first movie I want to move back is The Dark Knight.
Okay.
I'm much more attached.
I'm not with you on that.
And really love, you know, the complexity and the deepness. And I think that's a movie that, you know, Nolan's always trying to like, you know, prove that he's deep and thoughtful. But I feel like Interstellar is one that really captures me when I watch it. And so I would move The Dark Knight, which a movie I love, but like, I don't know, in recent years, you know, I feel like it has hasn't had such a lasting power on me. So I would move that down to like the 30s probably.
Marcus is going to be so mad at you. Marcus Baker, who a frequent collaborator on ETI, is going to be so mad at you. I have a lot more of these. So like there's a lot I want to move down, but I'm really going to do a few. But I thought that also The Social Network was like, everyone's saying it's like the best movie. Social Network is 10. It's a great movie. I love Social Network. Obviously, I think we can say unsaid. We all love all of these movies. We have no like full on dislike of any of these movies, but I felt like that one specifically, also just the topic, once again, so recency, right? What feels good about that movie is the fact that Facebook has been the bane of our existence since we were 14 years old, depending what generation you are. And also just like, and this is also one of my weird movie problems, where movies that just, I don't like the world and the people in it sometimes just makes me decide I don't think it's as deserving of love. But yeah, I just like the whole Ivy League world, like, I don't know. I just think that movie's a little overrated, but it's a great movie.
The real world.
That is very true. That is way too accurate.
The
me
other
too well.
Little Miss Sunshine, I thought could have been moved down. It's at 42 right now.
I think up.
It's a beautiful movie. It's really nice. It's really great. When's the last time you were like, I'm gonna fire up Little Miss Sunshine?
I have the script. I own the script, and also I think that, like I always say, it's the best filmmakers can capture joy. I think that if you can capture joy on film, that to me is like the ultimate challenge and the ultimate.
It's fine to be on this list.
Art.
I just don't think it's deserving of number 42.
I'm okay with that, moving it back, but keeping it.
Yeah. Put it somewhere in the 60s or 70s. Because again, great movie, fantastic film. Gave us, I think that was the first time Paul Dano came into my life. So, I think if we move that down, and then also the other one I had was Spider-Verse, the superhero film, and animated again. I think it's okayly. It's pretty well represented on this list, but a top 35 movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I understand that animation was groundbreaking at the time, and we can keep it on the list, but I don't think it needs to be in the top 50. Yeah.
I'm going to mention one more.
I have two more as well, so go ahead.
You got quickly. I was just going to say, so Love Mulholland Drive, one of my favorite movies. Goes to my top 4 in Letterboxd all the time. It's my favorite movies, but I was surprised that it got at 2. I'm not even going to say that it should be moved down. I'm fine with it being at 2, but I was really surprised for something that like experimental. Max and I have been debating like what categorize something as having experimental elements, or like just because it doesn't, non-linear or all these different things. But I was surprised Mulholland Drive was that far up on the what's let's call it again, the
reader's choice.
I was surprised.
It's also top. It's like top 5 in critics as well, though. So that's one of the like consensus.
But also felt like recency, or like I'm really sad that David Lynch passed away, but like is maybe that one up a little higher because of some of those emotions right now. But that movie is great and deserving anywhere on this list to be on the list. But
you are the therapist for all movie watchers.
Wait, why do
your
you say
emotions a little heightened right now because
that's true.
So the other two that I'm fine with being on the list, but that I would like to move, the first one is The Royal Tenenbaums at number 28. I think this movie belongs more in this 70s to 80s range. When you look at the films that are down there, I think it fits in a lot better with movies in that range, like The Florida Project and Boyhood and The Worst Person in the World. Like that feels like where Tenenbaums should be. And that's also because you have the Grand Budapest Hotel at 22. So I know that that's really when Wes was cooking, but do we need 2 Wes Anderson movies that close together in the top 30? For me, the answer is no. And then the other one is Pride and Prejudice, which I almost put into my surprise category as the Joe Wright film that made this list and not Atonement. That was really surprising to me. And so I'm fine keeping Pride and Prejudice on the list as almost like a 2-for-1 there, but I don't think it should be 50. I think that should be closer to the 80 to 90s range with movies that kind of feel a little bit more gimmicky that have made it in there. You know, that's like where Barbie is. That's where Up is. That's where, with all due respect, Top Gun Maverick and Dune Part 1 and Bridesmaids are. Like, that's where I think Pride and Prejudice should go. And so happy that it's on the list. Don't think it needs to be top 50, however.
But I just think like it's something interesting about deciding that the not serious films, and that's not to say that's exactly what you're saying, but like I feel like I'm getting a slip from Max too of like, if it's not serious, it deserves to be lower and in a group with other not serious films.
Pride and Prejudice is very serious.
Pride and Prejudice is very serious, but it's something else. Yeah. True. Very true.
Okay, and so then the next one is 3 movies that we would keep on the list, but that we would like to move up. And so what do you guys have for this?
The order is so weird. Like, sorry, as we go coming out of the question we just did, like, what would we move down? The order is so weird. Overall, this whole order, I think I would move it around completely. Just saying. But yes, just saying that. And then you guys can go on which ones you want to move up.
Right.
Well, I mean, just while it's kind of like the topic of discussion here, I have a very quote unquote unserious movie that I would love to move up more. So not to contradict exactly what you're saying, Kalee, but I think that it can be both things at once, because Mean Girls at 82 deserves to be top 50.
Yeah,
I've been saying this ever since we've had this platform really on the podcast, that I think Mean Girls is a perfect movie. I think Mean Girls fits perfectly into like the 40 to 50 range with something like Little Miss Sunshine or WALL-E or Amelie or Past Lives. Like, I would put it above almost all of those films. And so although it's not necessarily the first film that people think of when a best of the 21st century discussion happens, I think that Mean Girls definitely needs more recognition and a higher ranking than 82. So that's the first one I'll throw out there.
Love. I'll put out a solid actual answer rather than just losing my mind. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I would move up to 10. I think it's better at Social Network. I think Portrait of a Lady on Fire, like huge, like bringing queer cinema to the mainstream and in a new, I mean, I think there's been many films that have kind of brought it to the main scene, but I think that one is just also just like cinematic at such an intense level. And just the way it emotes is, to me, like really high up on the list.
If I'm taking The Dark Knight out of number 6, I got to get this laugh-a-minute movie into the top 10, and that's Children of Men.
Yeah.
What are we doing? 21?
So
21? That is ridiculous.
So with you.
That movie is just grows every day. Like, that movie needs to be at least within the top 10, if not the top 5.
It's brilliant. And like the commentary and the color grade and like just everything about that film is so fucking dope. Yeah.
The next movie that I would love to move up is one that I'm so happy that I get to move it up and not add it to the list because it barely snuck in at number 99. But give me Midsommar in that same range for 50, for like 40 to 50. So let's take that out of like being a bubble film and put that up there. Just behind or right there with maybe something like Zodiac or Kill Bill Volume 1, Memories of Murder, Phantom Thread. These are other movies that are in the 40 to 50 range that I think you can make the argument for this movie being just as important. And also like well done. Every time we talk about Midsommar, we talk about what just a A+ exercise and craft it is. And really launches the career of someone like Florence Pugh, proves that Ari Aster was not just a one-hit wonder with something like Hereditary. And so happy that it's on the list. Got to move it up, though.
I like the idea of getting more horror higher up, too, like you were saying. Like, there's horror representation, but it's all pretty low. I did want to also, in response to your earlier of saying Royal Tenenbaums, you want to move it down. I want to move Royal Tenenbaums up. I love Royal Tenenbaums.
Higher than 28.
Yeah, I would move it. I don't know. Maybe it's in a good place. I like it more than some of these like 10 to 15. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings person. So yeah, maybe that's part of the reason why I would maybe like trade it. I don't know. Lord of the Rings needs to stay up where it is though, because it's legendary. But yeah, Royal Tenenbaums is one I'd really love to move up a little bit. And Phantom Thread, as you were just mentioning, 30s to 40s. For me, that one is, 45. It's definitely like the amount it comes into my mind and the amount that I think of that film is a lot higher than that for me.
Yeah. Another one I would love to see get up is Get Out.
Yes, that's top of my list too. Yeah.
For 17. Especially if I'm taking Everything Everywhere all at once out at 13, then we can get Out above La La Land. As much as I love La La Land, but like,
yeah,
it's a better film. Get Out. I also had Zodiac as, you know, I know a lot of people, you know, it kind of always comes down to The Social Network or Zodiac. It kind of depends on the day that you ask me which one is better, but I do think Zodiac is a monumental masterpiece from David Fincher, who, you know, very important filmmaker of the 21st century. I think we need to get that up. And then the last one I'll touch on, I was really happy and surprised to see this movie on the list at 87, The Master. Kalee just interacted with last night. She went and saw it again on 70 millimeter.
I hate that movie.
And I would love to see that moved up to, like, you know, within the top 50, because I just think it, again, when it comes to PTA, you know, everyone's going to go to There Will Be Blood right away in this century, but The Master to me is like, you know, like 1B, right? Like it is just below The Social Network.
So you're putting that above Phantom Thread though.
Yes, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wild.
Haley hates The Master. I don't get it.
It's just so depressing. Like I walked out, I was like, and I really was paying attention. The first, my review was like, at least this time, the second watch, I didn't walk out mad at PTA for making me feel stupid. The second time, I at least understood it, and I still hated it. But the first time, I just didn't even. The first time, it just went over my head
4 or 5 times to really understand what's going on.
Yeah, maybe I need to watch it more. I don't know if I can though. It's such a sad. It's just so dark. It's hard to watch.
It is. Yeah, no, it's a tricky movie for me too, where I've had some like 4 or 5 star feelings about the film, and then I think the last time I reviewed it on Letterboxd, I was like, I don't know what the mission is behind that movie, really. Okay, so then the last movie that I would love to move up,
I think the mission. Sorry, I didn't want the mission. I think is Philip Seymour Hoffman as a cult leader. Like that is the mission of that movie.
The mission is figuring out the meaning of man. Okay.
What?
And are we animals or are we something?
Respectfully though, enough people have tried that and shown us that, and you know, I don't know. It's a polarizing film, and I love polarizing movies. Okay, yes. The last movie that I want to keep but move up is our 63rd entry, which is Blade Runner 2049. I just revisited this movie the other night. This movie needs to be top 35, especially on a list that does value, however, not necessarily focus on franchises and remakes and legacy sequels and things of that nature. But like, you could definitely put this movie in the top 40, and I think it should be right there with something like Gladiator or what else is right here, like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I think Gladiator Labyrinth could be moved down also. Gladiator's a little high.
So not only because this movie is just like visual and auditory ASMR for sci-fi nerds, like it is incredible every single time I rewatch this movie when I think about what Denny pulled off. And honestly, even though this movie's not that long ago, it's like 2017, before he was really Denis Villeneuve, you know? And so there was so much speculation coming into this movie, and not that it necessarily bombed, but I think it's only grown in appreciation. And going back to Zodiac, we have to do an episode, Max, at some point on movies that I feel like podcasting and social media and Letterboxd have just totally reclaimed, because like I was in the theater for Zodiac weekend 1, and I remember reviews of that movie and everyone hated Zodiac. Like everyone hated Zodiac, so just like how everyone hated Miami Vice. And it's just kind of like, it's this hive mindset of like, people actually tell you it's good, and then I think like the culture just starts to believe it. But when the thing was good all along, it's not really like anyone's to blame for that. It just like, I don't know. It just, you needed Philip Seymour Hoffman as your cult leader to tell you what to do almost, you know?
Well, I was
It's
gonna
like,
say, yeah, I feel like Blade Runner for Villeneuve is like the master of PTA's like career almost, like because it's such a slower burn and it's like a little like less, whereas like
it's so
Arrival just
methodical. It's
yeah,
so methodical, that movie. And the Ryan
really
Gosling
impressive. Yeah.
performance is so good. The Harrison Ford role doesn't feel shoehorned in or something that
Yeah,
was done
so
like
true.
his role in like a Star Wars movie or something like that. Ana de Armas is really good in the movie. Jared Leto is this
Yes.
perfect balance of like weird and creepy, but also like very he's very actorly in the role also, like he's playing a great bad guy. And so yeah, you just what Denny was able to take on with that movie, following Ridley Scott's footsteps, you know, Hans Zimmer on the score, trying to do what Vangelis did on the original score. Like everyone, Roger Deakins behind the camera, like everyone crushed it with that movie. And so,
Yeah.
and this is also in response, like, I'm sorry if this takes one of your guys' answers from later, but the fact that there's no Sicario on this list, the fact that there's not another Denis Villeneuve movie on this list besides the Dune films, I'm like,
Yeah, he's
Blade
amazing.
Runner 2049, even though it's a lot of the same, it's sci-fi.
And Arrival's on here.
Arrival is on here, right?
Yeah, 20 or pretty high up too. Yeah,
it is. That's true. Thanks for catching that. But I was like, Blade Runner's got to get out of the 60s. It's got to get out of the back half and into the top half.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Max, do you have one more? Do you want to move up? I have one more.
No. Children of Men, Zodiac, The Master are my three.
My last one is Almost Famous. I think when we were talking about some of these ones, I would move down, like up in this Gladiator. So I'd move Almost Famous is 51, and I would move it up to like the early 30s, like up here.
Almost
like,
Famous feels like such a 90s movie.
It really does, right?
But that's what I love about it, and it's just like, to me, the nostalgia of it. More Philip Seymour Hoffman, also he's also in that. But yeah, I think, and also just like the capturing of the 70s, like the capturing of that time, which you don't really have on this list anywhere else. And especially if you're going to go with recency, like now we like love the 70s and like, I don't know. I just feel like that film and what Cameron Crowe did with it. It's interesting because it's kind of his, like, I don't know if I'm completely correct in this, but like kind of his one hit wonder. Like that's like his big, like best movie he ever made. Oh yeah. Jerry Maguire. People always talk about that one too. Yeah. I love Jerry Maguire, but yeah. So I think that like, yeah, I think Almost Famous could be moved up. But that's my last one, I think.
Okay, so then let's talk about some movies that we've already brought a few of them up, but these are ones that we just want to remove completely from the list. So not move them down, but just clear them. What do you have here? We'll start with you, Max.
Knives Out.
Okay.
I've mentioned a couple times. Ryan Johnson, very lovely person. We got to meet him at a screening, took a picture with me, signed my Looper DVD.
Could you replace Looper? Is Looper 2000s? Yeah, Looper could be.
Looper's in there. I don't think it's a top 100, but
Looper DVD, you said.
Looper DVD.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
But I would take Knives Out off this list. Memento. I've for a long time, I think this is the weakest film from Christopher Nolan. Tenet's the weakest film from Christopher Nolan, but this is second for me. It's just I just do not like Memento, which I know is like kind of a crazy thing to say. I don't.
It's a little dark and gritty for you, Max. I get it.
No, not at all. And also, like, we are Nolan is represented. He is represented.
It's true.
Let's take Memento off. Let's stop pretending that this is like one of his.
Every movie needs to be recognized.
Yeah. And then Sinners. I would take Sinners off.
Yeah.
Because again, even though favorite film of the year, like fantastic, will be on this list 5 years from now. But it does not need to be on the 2025 list the same year, 6 months after it came out. It does not need to be on this list. And it definitely doesn't need to be on the 52nd movie on this list.
What are you scrubbing from the list, Kalee?
So my first joke is just like anything I haven't seen, remove it.
Right.
Because
yeah.
My main, okay, I'm just going to go for it. Just going to go in hot. Holdovers, I would remove. It's way too recent. It wasn't that great, in my opinion. It's solid, but that's my feeling about it. And then Gone Girl. I love Gone Girl. It's actually a huge comp for a script I'm writing, and I love Gone Girl, love Fincher, but I don't know. I don't know if it's top 100. I mean, it's pretty low though. I think it's fine where it's at. But if I had to remove something, these are all great movies. I don't really want to remove anything from the list. Gone Girl maybe for me. And then last is Inside Llewyn Davis, which I know I'm wrong about. Like I literally know I'm wrong about Inside Llewyn Davis, but I just don't. I don't have a. I need to rewatch it. I did not have like a strong reaction to it.
Reactions, Max. I saw you shaking your head a lot there.
Well, first off, Kalee, Inside Llewyn Davis is in a case right behind you, so you fire it up whenever you want. Again, another movie about the meaning of being a man, which is
so important.
You're really trying to figure that one out, huh, Max? Just kidding.
What other bad thing did you say?
I love it makes you forget everything. I said Gone Girl.
Gone Girl. Okay.
Part of me thinks Girl with a Dragon Tattoo should be here instead of Gone Girl.
Oh yeah, if you're taking Gone Girl off, I think Dragon Tattoo has to go on.
More impressive, just more impressive to me.
Yeah. But I get that. I get that feeling that Gone Girl needs to be off.
So the movies that I would like to see completely removed, already discussed Everything Everywhere All at Once at 13. I'm not even trying to like move it back. I'm just trying to clear it off. It's really funny too. Like I get that it's going to stay on these lists for a really long time. However, the tide is already starting to shift. Like any time that there is a screen grab of a top 20 list where this film is included, I always screenshot it's always inevitably going to become one of the top comments on this post. And I'll send it to Max because it's somebody saying like, how long until we can be honest about Everything Everywhere All at Once? like the mindset of like, I don't know if it was the pandemic. I don't know if it's because the Marvel fatigue, the superhero fatigue was so big and this felt close to that, but in this sort of like art house international flavor that folks thought was like a lot more fun to support. I don't know. It's a movie that has never worked for me and that I think a lot more people are starting to come around on. Obviously not for this list as it's still so high. Another movie that I have been on the corner for with my pitchfork since its release in 2006 is The Departed. The Departed clocks in at 25. Get it out of here. It does
really
not belong.
It's
It's the kind of movie that we made so many of from like 1985 to 2007, and this one just happened to have a great cast and be directed by Martin Scorsese. The story is not interesting at all, and the performances have only aged like they've only become they've really aged poorly. Yeah, they've only become more laughable, really. Aside from maybe like I think Leo is still actually great in the movie, and I think Damon is also really, really good in the movie. Everybody else, you're just like, what are we doing here? Like it feels like an SNL skit. And so The Departed can leave. And then a movie that like you want so many of these films do have their like cultural footprint. And so I get why something like Everything Everywhere All at Once is still on the list. That's a Best Picture winner. I get why The Departed is on the list. That's another Best Picture winner. Like they're going to have their fan clubs. Max, you liked this movie. Maybe you really liked this movie. I don't think you loved this movie when it came out. Some people loved this movie when it came out. When was the last time you heard someone talk about Tar?
That's Tar, an interesting hot take.
Tar, it's 68. You want to talk about like a nothing burger of a movie as far as like remembering it or what, you know, we talk about The Master, like what was this movie trying to say, you know, like this person, Lydia Tarr, like I went into the movie thinking like, oh, is this a real person? Is this sort of like a based on the real? It's not even, you know, like that's just, we're asking to be invested in something that just feels like so inconsequential by the end of the movie. And
and people,
I don't know. Tar is just like a nothing to me.
Yeah, when I was so excited to see that movie, I saw it a little like late. Like I didn't,
Mhm.
I saw it like many months after it been released, and
Yeah.
like people were
Same,
just
I
like,
think, yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna like it. It's so weird. I don't know if you're like gonna like it. It's so like the
And it's
way
not even weird.
it's not even
just
that weird. Like
no.
it really surprised me when I started watching it. I was like, there's like 2 very short experimental sequences, like very
Yeah.
short. There's like 2 or 3, and it's just like, and there's some like cool bisexual lighting. Like the apartment has like cool lighting. Like there's like some cool things in it. But yeah, it's like not. Yeah, I'm with you. That's an interesting one. When I saw that, definitely was when I was surprised by too, because
Mhm.
it's so recent, and just was like,
Another thing, yeah.
yeah.
Max, you mentioned Sinners, and then I've already mentioned this one too, but I could do without, especially since it's barely making the cut at 93. We can take Killers of the Flower Moon off this list. And now maybe that's one that in 10 years has been reclaimed. You know, Max, I think you've said this before that like we are going to come around on this
I
movie.
think we will, yeah.
Kalee, sounds like you agree as well. But like as it stands right now, I don't think there's any need to have Killers of the Flower Moon on this list. Maybe if for no other reason than to say like, look, at the time it still was appreciated in a way that maybe like the awards bodies didn't give it enough attention. But
Right.
it was kind of more of an honorable mention for me here. The big ones are Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Departed, and Tar.
Nice.
Okay, now this is the last 2, our final sections here. Save these for the end because they're the ones that I'm sort of most interested in. This is where we can have a lot of fun. 3 movies that are not on this list at all. And of course there can be others. Like I think I have like 8 movies written down here. I have my big 3 though, but movies that you 2 would add to the top 100 list.
I wrote down 15 movies, so you guys go first.
Okay. I'm dead. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a few. What am I doing here? Okay, so because I also wrote down a lot, but I have 3. I'm gonna narrow down to 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna add Josie and the Pussycats. It is such a like representative of our time and like corruption and the media. I want it to be added. Since they just decide that movies that just came out should be on the list, I would add The Substance. Substance was so good. If we're gonna go with these weird recent movies, I would add The Substance, and I would add Best in Show as his final like comedy, because that is my favorite all-time comedy. Love Christopher Guest. Where is Christopher Guest? I had to look at that. I was also like 3 I added that were 1999, of course, because 1999 is the best year. There were like 3 I was like, I would add. I was like, oh, nope, it's 99.
Can't. I was saying I almost did that as well. I love those picks though, because you're doing a lot of what you're doing the work that we talked about should have been done at the beginning, where like by adding The Substance, we're getting even more international flair.
Yeah.
We're adding a female director. Josie and the Pussycats, more of a female story. And Best in Show, more diversity within genres by adding a comedy. So those are all great picks.
Sweet.
Okay, so my I'll do a couple honorable mentions first here and kind of save my big 3 because I wonder if Max and I have any crossover. I mentioned Sicario. I think Sicario's got to be on this list. I think that Melancholia from Lars von Trier should be on this list.
Yes, that's on my list too. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that The Dreamers from 2003, Bernardo Bucciatelli's film, should be on this list. And then I already mentioned a few other Yorgos films. The Killing of the Sacred Deer. I think there's a great argument for that. You could probably even make the argument for something like The Lobster. The movie, though, that needs to be on the top 100 list is Dogtooth. And I know Dogtooth is about to have, I think, a 15-year anniversary 4K restoration come out that's going to make a cycle around in theaters. And then hopefully it gets redistributed like the 4K scan for a boutique Blu-ray release, because that's a movie that just more people need to see. He has never been more famous than he is now. And so would love to see Dogtooth be on this list to help raise some of that awareness as well. But again, those are only honorable mentions. My big 3 are still to come.
I still haven't seen Dogtooth all the way through. Just want to say that I would vote The Lobster over Dogtooth being on the list. Okay. But I love the idea of getting more Yorgos in here.
Yeah. Do you kind of have like a big 3 and then another tier, Max, that you want to go through?
You can do it, Max.
Well, so Best in Show is the first one I thought of. Like, and Kalee touched on that. I also had Sicario on here. I would love to see the big 3, I guess. 25th Hour, right? Because we need to get Spike on
Yeah.
this list.
Like that. Cool.
And I think that movie is like one of his most underrated films, and is fantastic. There's no Michael Mann on the list, and I am a huge Collateral fan, so I would love to see that put on there. And then, you know, I mean, if we're gonna throw some more horror in there, I think The Witch does deserve to be on the top 100 as the Eggers representation out of the films he's made so far. So
the Lighthouse did clock in at 97.
It which is surprising. It's surprising.
It is
the
surprising.
Lighthouse over The Witch.
I agree.
Where I love
think
the
that
Lighthouse.
makes sense. I think
You
that
think so?
I'm not a horror head though. I'm not a horror head, but yeah.
I think the Lighthouse is. I think the Lighthouse in the moment got more attention, but again, you want to talk about the movies that have lived on. I think that they both have lived on already, but The Witch has more legs already. That was a 2015 film, and the Lighthouse was 2019.
Yeah.
I think The Witch is a bit more like, you know, classic, like true horror.
Listen,
right?
The Witch is scary as fuck. Yeah.
But I think the Lighthouse is like doing so much more to like forward the art form. Like the Lighthouse to me is like with the black and white and the aspect ratio and like, which are like,
yes,
those are
right.
niche
Those are
things,
also
like,
kind of gimmicks, even though
kind of.
like this. Is
But
so
also
crazy
even the way the story plays out. And
yeah,
like,
is it one person? Is it two people? Like,
yeah, exactly. And like
there's
the
more to chew
drunken,
on.
like the sequences, like, and the way the camera is moving in those crazy sequences between Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, like those performances are so much more exciting to me. I mean, I feel like the best part of The Witch is the goat. The best performance in The Witch is an animal.
but honestly, again, like if you did one of these street interviews that you see on Instagram or whatever, and you ask, oh, do you like movies? And someone says yes, and you ask them who's Black Phillip, or what movie's Black Phillip from? I think a lot of people are going to be able to answer The Witch. Like, even though that was sort of said in jest, I think that shows the movie's impact. That like it is very. I mean, there's room for both. If I'm making the list, there's room for both.
How about this? I'll retract The Witch, since we already have Eggers on here. I'd like to put Green Room on the list.
Yeah,
because again, another movie that like I've recommended a lot, and like everyone who watches it and comes back to me says that movie was amazing.
Yeah.
I have a few notable mentions, a few quick ones. Sexy Beast, love Blazer. Under the Skin, though, you brought Under the Skin earlier. I would vote Under the Skin over Sexy Beast, probably.
Yeah. And Under the Skin, to be fair, is on the critics list. It just didn't make the readers list. Yeah.
So good. One of my favorites. Super inspirational. And then this is kind of a niche female filmmaker one, Honey Boy. And not niche, like it's not like nobody knows about it, but like niche meaning like maybe it's not deserving of being on this list, but like maybe I would add it to this list because I think that it does some really interesting things, like the beginning with like Lucas Hedges on like the big setup, and he's doing the Shia LaBeouf bit where he's like the movie star. Like there's just like some really cool creative bits in that one that I think are groundbreaking potentially. And my two last notable mentions, Velvet Underground doc by Todd Haynes is really dope. Highly suggest watching. Just like really cool visuals.
There's like,
and, like,
no documentaries on this list. Huh?
Yeah, I don't know if documentaries even are applicable. Maybe they're not even considering them. I'm sure probably not, because I feel like our generation is so documentary crazed. They would put probably a bunch in there.
I think Grizzly Man is on
critics. Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
And then once again, if we're doing recency, I would maybe do Sing Sing. I think Sing Sing is pretty unbelievable. But yeah.
Okay, so I mean, my big three that I'm actually going to add here, outside of my honorable mentions, this is also feeding two birds with one stone. We need more female directors on this list. We need more horror films on this list. So give me American Psycho. You want to talk about a movie that's is
crazy.
Just like,
it's not on there.
That is ever present, whether it's in meme culture or, you talk about Bret Easton Ellis as an author and the adaptation and the choices made from page to script. Like it is, American Psycho is just one of the most influential, darkly and deeply funny while also being disturbing movies of this century. And so shout out to Mary Harron for everything she did in directing that film. Shout out Patrick Bateman. Just like American Psycho's untouchable. It's literally eternal. That movie's going to live on forever. And so American Psycho needs to be on this list. Donnie Darko, for a lot of the same reasons, needs to be on this list. I can't believe that neither of those two films are there, because again, you can do this filter on Letterboxd where you go popular this week. These movies are not in the top 10. They might not be in the top 20, but you look, Max and I did this like quick exercise last week, sort of off air before we signed off. I went on there, and right next to movies like Get Out and Lady Bird and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, movies that have no real reason to stick around within like the top 20 to top 40 as far as like most popular and most watched and relogged movies. You know, it's not like there's another Jake Gyllenhaal movie coming out, so people are revisiting his movies, or it's not like Richard Kelly, who really is a one-hit wonder as a director, is like ever in the news or something like that. But for whatever reason, like Donnie Darko is always being rewatched. It's always being talked about. There's so much iconography behind that character.
Slaps.
The soundtrack is, I think, universally considered one of the best soundtracks, maybe ever. And so that film 100% deserves to be on here. And then this third one I kind of struggled with, because I know that a lot has been made about the honesty of the storytelling. And maybe that's not even the right way to put it. The adaptation, though, of sort of the true crime narrative that helped write the script for Zero Dark 30. But like Zero Dark 30 is one of the most propulsive, cat and mouse, intense crime stories I've ever watched. Like, and so again, too, we're doing a lot of stuff here. We're putting a Catherine Bigelow film in the movie. Jessica Chastain's character is so good in this film. I get that a lot of liberties were taken in trying to embellish the story and maybe make it more exciting than perhaps it really was. But like the tagline of the movie, you
have to. I'm like writing
the greatest manhunt in the history. Yeah, in the history of the world, literally. Like that is the tagline of the film. And I mean, like, you want to talk about the definition of a rewatchable. I can just like hear someone say a word that I know is used in a line of dialogue from that film, and I'm like, I need to go home and watch Zero Dark 30. Or like there's so much. Like I see Chris Pratt in some shitty Jurassic Park movie, and I'm like, I need to go watch Zero Dark 30 because he's in that movie for like 5 minutes and he's awesome. Or like Mark Strong or Kyle Chandler, or any of these people that just kind of populate like one or two scenes. I think about them as like who they are to me is their character in Zero Dark 30. And that has nothing to do with Chastain's character. And she's just amazing. And as I think just a phenomenal actress who
she's one of the best actresses of our time. 100%.
Who finally got recognized
unbelievable.
A couple years ago, right, for Tammy Faye. And so
we were talking about that the other day. Like I haven't seen Tammy Faye, but I'm glad she got recognized.
It's
she's
so great that she has a Best Actress statue there. And so Zero Dark 30 to me, I think needs to be on this list. And if not Zero Dark 30, then put The Hurt Locker on there, because Catherine's had I would say an abbreviated career in the 2000s. You know, she hasn't made as many films as a lot of people would like her to make, but the stuff that she has made is all been really solid. And so for me, it's Zero Dark 30 as the one that should be on there.
Yeah, some other so my long list, I also had Shaun of the Dead. I had Prisoners. You know, if we're gonna take one of the movies off, let's put Prisoners on there for Denny. Steve Jobs.
Boo. I hate Steve Jobs so much. Sorry.
Okay, what you just said is really interesting. You said Signs.
Signs.
Signs are unbreakable. I didn't even think about this, but because we can't do The Sixth Sense, right? That's 1999.
Yeah, we need Night on there.
We do need Night on here.
And for my money, it's Signs. Unbreakable, I think definitely deserving as well. You know, and it could be it's a superhero movie that could, take out Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
What I said, 25th Hour. But listen, I had Pirates of the Caribbean on my long list. Like the original Pirates of the Caribbean was a monumental film for Disney live action, for big summer blockbusters. It reintroduced Johnny Depp to a whole new generation, for better or worse. Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, Jeffrey Rush, and like the year that movie came out, I mean, that it's such a great representation of big blockbuster, but
like the power of movies.
It is cool. Does this have to do with playing Skull King, though? Is it because you just love the card game Skull King, where you're pirates? There's this like game that we were playing, and we were watching Pirates of the Caribbean, and Max just seemed like he was in like heaven, like watching Pirates of the Caribbean while like trying to win at this really fun like Skull King card game. Max's love of board games, I think, is heightening his emotions on this one.
Well, I'm just trying to define the definition of being a man.
You mentioned, not to interrupt, but you mentioned Orlando Bloom. Kingdom of Heaven, I think, is one of these movies where like I think the reclamation process has happened online for this film, in that people have revisited it enough times and come around on it. So would like to see that as well.
Francis Ha,
which is on the critics. It is on the critics list. Yeah.
Little Children, which again, like, is just a movie that I feel like has been lost to time. But like, if we're gonna take Tar off, let's put Little Children in there.
Yeah, the better Todd Field film from this century.
Castaway. I don't think there is a Tom Hanks movie on this list.
Oh, interesting. You're right.
And I, listen, Castaway again, like just a singular monumental, like, one person movie that's insane, and one that is rewatched all the time. If we're taking
and one that feels like there's not too, I mean, a lot of these movies, one of their defining traits are like, was there sort of a monoculture moment around this movie? And when Castaway came out, you could talk to anyone at a dinner party, barbecue, at school, whatever it was, and like everyone had seen Castaway.
Yeah. And then I also have The Aviator, which I hold higher than The Departed. 3:10 to Yuma. I don't think there are any Westerns, maybe a couple Westerns. Nice.
Those are both good picks. I like those.
But 3:10 to Yuma, for my money, is like the best Western of the 21st century. Catch Me If You Can. There's very little
that'd be really fun.
Spielberg on this list, or Minority Report, which I know Minority Report made the critics list. And I know, Spielberg is he is if this is the 21st, so he's like a 20th century director, but I still think Minority Report or Catch Me If You can find a spot for it. And then First Reformed from Paul Schrader.
Yes. That should have been on the critics. That one's so good.
I don't know if it is.
I don't think it is. It should have been. I think.
Yeah. But yeah, we need a Paul Schrader movie on here.
I agree with that as well.
I love that.
Okay, so then last one. As the list stands right now, with none of our additions, none of our subtractions, as the list reads, do you have a favorite section? And so what I mean by that is, like, when you look at the list, are you like, wow, films 60 through 70 really speak to me? Or do you feel like the top 10 is like really accurate and that's what you maybe most align with? And so what is your favorite section of the list?
I have a section 72 through 79.
Brother, I wrote 71 through 80.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are so in sync. Cute.
Uncut Gems, Spotlight, Black Swan, Boyhood, Worst Person in the World, The Prestige, Michael Clayton, which is also another movie that could be moved up, and Gone Girl.
This was actually easier than I thought when I looked at it. I was like, this is so solid here. And you could even, if you want to go from 70 to 80, then you get the Florida Project in there, and Sean Baker gets some love. 71 is The Tree of Life, so Terrence Malick, because I also feel like A New World could have been on here, but I'm happy that The Tree of Life is there. And then you hit all the others: Uncut Gems, Spotlight, Black Swan, Boyhood, Worst Person in the World, Prestige, which for my money, like The Prestige is probably my favorite Nolan film. And then even like, if you're going to have recency bias, not that Uncut Gems isn't recent, but Anatomy of Fall is super solid movie. And to have that at 80 is, I feel like, pretty well placed. So Yeah. Wow. Great job, bud.
Love that. So mine are both, I have like two kind of sections. I like that you guys did different numbers. I was really trying to do like a 10, like keep it to the tens or like a, like even. I think I would do.
Well, that's what we did 70 through 80. Those are all 70 through 80.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But I did some in the middle. It makes more sense for me. I'm noticing like if I do like this one, like 17 through 27. So that's
got
like
you. Okay.
Get Out. Like I was trying to keep it even there. It's like Get Out, Moonlight, Whiplash, Arrival, Children of Men. Grand Budapest, these three kind of skip. Grand Budapest, Oppenheimer, Inception, The Departed, and then Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Dune Part 2. So, but the first, like that little pocket there, maybe that, like a fiver, like Get Out, Moonlight, Whiplash, Arrival, Children of Men. That's my favorite pocket.
Good run.
That's my favorite pocket. And then my other one is 36, or let's see. No, I haven't seen After Sun, but I know I'm going to love that one. So maybe I just, I also haven't seen Old Boy, but I really love like Lady Bird, City of God, Call Me by Your Name. I feel like that's a cool little pocket. Pan's Labyrinth, absolutely. Those four feels like a really good little pocket. Probably could add After Sun. I'm sure I'm going to love that one. I can't wait to finally see it. I haven't seen Old Boy, but yeah, also okay. So redoing this pocket. So this would be 35 through 45, right? So After Sun, Lady Bird, City of God, Call Me by Your Name, Pan's Labyrinth, Old Boy, Zodiac, Little Miss Sunshine. Lauder, Two Towers, Wall-E,
Lauder? Did you just call it Lauder?
Lauder.
Isn't that what it is? Like, isn't that a thing? Is it
Lord
not a thing?
of the Rings.
And if you're and people just say LOTR.
Yeah.
Really? I've heard Lauder. I've heard someone say that. Some of our listeners are gonna be like, "Yeah, I've said Lauder," but okay.
Yeah. Kalee's promised me that she will be joining me on the Lauder
Redux.
Yes, I need to rewatch all of them. I have Two Towers would be my choice if I were to choose one that I really love. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, any final thoughts? Like any movie that we haven't really brought up, or anything else that you guys want to give a shout out to on this list?
You didn't get to give your Zola. Wasn't Zola one you were saying earlier? You were like, I want to talk about Zola. Or
well, just want to add that I brought it up. I brought it up real quick when I said, something that I'm unhappy with was the women directors and the BIPOC representation. And so Zola fits into both those categories. Janixa Bravo as the director, I think would have loved to have seen that. That's also where like I brought up The Substance. You did as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in that there's a lot of movies there. That's also where Catherine Bigelow got mentioned earlier with the Hurt Locker, but Promising Young Woman, 12 Years a Slave, Roma. Like these are all films that were nominated for Academy Awards, if not Best Picture. Titan wins the Palme d'Or at Cannes when that film comes out. And so
I didn't know that one won Palme d'Or. That's amazing.
I was really surprised to not see some of those films on this list, especially because I feel like a lot of the out of the 200,000 people that voted online here, or who submitted their list online, that for the most part, I feel like those are films that maybe they don't have that and not that Donnie or American Psycho made the list, but like maybe they just don't kind of have that ever presence feel to them yet. Like it takes a minute to kind of think about like, oh yeah, God, Roma was so good, or like.
Yeah.
Promising Young Woman really was like, I have Promising Young Woman still as like one of my top 3 favorite movies of the 2020s.
Nice.
Like that was just such a high, I think, for not only Carey Mulligan but Emerald Fennell as well. And so there's that. And then I mean, I haven't really brought up just because I think it's well placed. Like if I was making this list, it would probably be top 30 as well. But just happy that it was there. And so like, if you haven't seen The Handmaiden, go watch The Handmaiden. Park Chan-wook has another film coming out this year. So I think a lot of people are going to be revisiting his filmography here soon, but like, that's one of my favorite movies, of all time, honestly. And then, aside from that, I mean, I think everything, I love seeing Inglourious Bastards and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, both in the top 30, because those are the two Quentin movies I think that I kind of waffle back and forth between being like his best stuff, and especially if we can't include something like Pulp Fiction because this is a 21st century list, then I think that those are pretty well placed as well on this list.
I was going to add one more notable mention of like on the list. The things that are on this, like City of God. Like I feel like most cinephiles have seen City of God, but if you are not a full-on cinephile or you have not missed that one, that's to me could be even moved up, and it's just one of the best movies ever. I love it.
I think that's a great. I always talk about that film as being like a great gateway movie into trying to get into international cinema. Like if you haven't watched a lot and you're trying to figure out like what you're looking for, and you're really if I can tell someone's serious in the question, then I'm like, yeah, sit down and watch City of God. It's over 2 hours and it's a little challenging and it's a little violent at times, but like it's going to feel like you're watching a 90s Scorsese movie. It's going to feel like you're watching Goodfellas. It's going to feel like you're watching something familiar.
Yes, Un Prophète, the French film, which is on the critics list, I believe, also is a one that's like that. Like, you get these like American film has this crime element that kind of can give you a crossover where it feels familiar, but is much darker and crazier because it's international.
Yeah, different rules.
Yeah.
Alex just paid me a huge compliment because City of God was definitely an early, like when we were 15, 16,
Aww.
Alex let me borrow that DVD. So thank you for thinking I'm serious.
Oh, I knew you were serious from the jump. Yeah.
Serious man.
No, this is great. I guess I should, we did say that comedies were a little underrepresented. As I'm doing one more scroll, we did give Mean Girls its flowers. Bridesmaids is at 90.
Yes, the best.
And so there are a few, and Barbie, is, if you are going to be, putting Barbie in a video store, you're putting Barbie in the comedy section. So there are some comedies on here as well. Also, Max, you touched on the animated stuff, but we didn't really get to talk about like Pixar's influence or Disney's influence too much. And that's not to say that it's not here and we did it by design, but like WALL-E's on the list, Ratatouille's on the list. I think that those are well placed and happy to see. What was the other one?
Up
is on the list. Yeah, we talked about the 2 Miyazaki movies that are on the list. And so for the most part, I mean, like, it'll be interesting to hear some feedback and see if people just think we bitched this entire episode. But like,
I have one more add-in.
Go ahead. I'm gonna bookend my thoughts by saying that, like, in totality, when I look at this list, I feel pretty good about it. I feel like the readers, for the most part, got a lot of stuff right, as far as at least including movies that have stood the test of time, and I think will continue to stand the test of time.
I love that. I just wanted to add one more, like when we're thinking about filmmakers that got in, or like thinking of like Adam McKay, who I love. He has Moneyball. Moneyball is on here, which is a brilliant film. But like, at least for me, my mom and I talk about The Big Short like all the time, or like The Big Short is like a constant. Or even something like Vice, which was very like challenging and weird and crazy. Anyway, just thinking we could maybe, if there was room to pull some things out, add some more Adam McKay, because him and his editor as a combo are like 2 of my favorite cinematic brains. They're very funny. They're great because they combine humor and drama so well, like dark comedy. They're kings. Just
a little correction there. Adam McKay did not do Moneyball. So
cut it out. Why do I think of that as his style though? But anyway, well. Either way, there should be Adam McKay on here.
Something I just noticed actually, Moonlight is behind La La Land, which I think is a really bad move. Moonlight won the best picture, and Moonlight honestly should be up probably in that 9 spot for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't know how you two feel about that movie, but I think Moonlight deserves to be in the top 10.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think Moonlight can replace one of those Nolan films in the top 10.
Mad Max, even like
or Mad Max. I think Get Out could replace either of those films. Also, Eternal Sunshine.
Also, Adam McKay was a writer on Moneyball, for the record. Thank you.
And then also, I love that out of all 3 of the low tar movies, that Fellowship is the first one on the list at number 14, because I feel like Alex and I have always been on Fellowship Island, where we believe that is the best of the 3. So that's cool to see that represented.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think they got the rankings of all 3 loader movies correct.
Two Towers is my favorite, but okay.
I think that's I mean, that's for a separate podcast.
Yes, we've had enough. We've had enough.
Pretty good stuff though. I tried to run. I went over to good old Chat GPT and I tried to copy and paste my Letterboxd physical media owned list and have it cross-reference with this list to see if it could tell me how many of these movies I own, and it needed me to like individually list my movies and not just give it a link. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna sit here and even like try to export 400 movies off this list and to telling you. But like, if I was going to give a rough estimate, I would say that, I mean, we all kind of put our little emojis. I think there's less than 10 of these films that I haven't seen. But when it comes to like how many I own, I would probably put it at about like 40 to 50%. I would say I probably own of these films. So just another sort of testament to the longevity of them. I don't know where you sort of stand with those between the two of your collections, which I'm sure.
I hate that I know this much about AI, but if you send it screenshots, it should be able to process.
Interesting. Okay.
Out of the top 100, I think I was sitting at like 8 that I haven't seen. As far as owning, I mean, probably 60%, somewhere around there.
What? I would guess like 30%.
Are you kidding? I mean, I own.
Are you kidding?
I mean, I don't have any.
I own 1 through 10 at least, right? And then we own 11, 12.
You own Mulholland Drive.
I believe we do own. I believe we have a copy, don't we?
No, we don't. No,
we don't.
I was like, I think your brain lies to you about
there would be zero excuse.
I've recently been noticing that Max thinks he has more than he has. I'll be like talking about movies. He's like, oh, we have that at home, and I'm like, no,
we have Lost Highway. We have
we do.
Inland Empire.
Those aren't on here.
Right. I probably had Mulholland Drive. Well, yeah. Anyways, I'm waiting to see Mulholland Drive in a theater. Also, we haven't mentioned the number 1 movie on this list.
Fair.
This podcast, which is Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. From 2019. Again, like I guess it's not in the 2020s, so maybe it's out of the recency bias thing. But just pretty incredible that is, as far as a reader's choice, the number 1 movie of the.
It's on both as number 1. Number 1.
It is on both as number 1. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
The interesting thing about that is that it feels so chalk now. And I would say over the last like 3 years, it's probably been this way where like, it's just like, oh yeah, Parasite, like it's the best movie of the 21st century. And every time I watch it, I love it. I think it's a 5-star movie. But like, even when we did our Bong episode, it all comes down to personal preference, right? But like, I rather watch Memories of Murder, which I know is on the critics list. I'm not sure. It's on this list as well.
49.
Okay. And again, this is another, like, it's another really good entry point for people, I think, to get into international cinema, right? Like it's a familiar feeling. It's kind of like, it's almost Fincher-esque. It's this great, like, soft thriller, family drama thriller that I think is just like, it's really palatable. It's really easy for people to sort of digest while watching something that feels new and exciting. And so, yeah, I mean, if it's going to be the defining movie of the 21st century, I think I'm okay with that. Like we'll see. I don't really see anything on this list having some sort of like second life that would jump it, like I think Mulholland Drive is probably going to stay in that top 10. I think that the 2 from 2007, There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men, will stay in this list. Or in the top 10. I think something like Spirited Away will stay in the top 10, but I don't see any of those like making a push to jump Parasite.
Yeah. Maybe we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll do it for our conversation on the New York Times Top 100 Films Reader's Choice Edition of the 21st Century. Kalee, thanks so much for joining us again. We, of course, hope you enjoyed your time on the show. As for what's next here on the podcast, we have one of our collective most anticipated films of the year releasing this weekend. Zach Cregger's Weapons, his follow-up to Barbarian, opens wide and is sure to stir up quite the discussion. Max, I know you're ready for this one. What are you looking for?
Highly anticipated. Cannot wait. Scary children running down a street. It's got. I haven't watched.
The buzz is good. The early buzz is good.
Early buzz is good. I've stayed away from trailers apart from like I think the first teaser that came out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see another top 5 movie of the year this weekend.
Yeah, very excited for this one. So that would probably be more of like a traditional review episode next week. And that's in us hoping that it gives us enough to sort of chew on here for 45 minutes or so. So that'll be a lot of fun. Until next time, of course, please follow Excuse the Intermission on Instagram and the two of us on Letterboxd to track what we're watching between shows. And we will talk to you next time on ETI, where movies still matter.